All right, this is just to document what it is that you are have been exposed to, what you've witnessed, and I have a body of evidence. I mean, hundreds of videos of the entity stalking with light, and I mean that which is occurring in the environment where the entity just places engineered light all over the buildings and real-time movement of that light, migration of that light based on where it is that I'm located and what I do as I do it. For example, the engineered light that you saw, and this just manifested out of nowhere, it wasn't here a second ago, and you also saw the evidence of that while I was standing in my bedroom, and at 6:38 p.m., I'm talking about the engineered light inside of the Fontana Lewis Library, where you're looking at demons that are stalking in the computer lab and the light sources over the Fontana Lewis Library, where I'm in the Stater Brothers at Hope Boulevard, where I showed you the video yesterday at 4:05 p.m. while the light source is here, and I published video to the Compare the P.O.C. folder where the light source is over there, the Stater Brothers, in the afternoon at 4:05 in the afternoon. As I'm speaking to that, that's the same Stater Brothers where you're looking at, I've uploaded video documentation of engineered light on the ceiling inside of that grocery store that ties all the people together. This is demons who are stalking in the path. They're doing this inside of the private space. And literally, as I'm capturing this on the floor, this arrives. What I want to speak to is in the same way that you saw the video that I captured at 6:38 p.m. yesterday, which was April 9th, 2024. The entity is engaging in what is dynamic light that appears, and this is again by hostile demons. This is the reality of the system. This is the reality of the government, the condition of those that are flying these helicopters, the condition of those that are driving ambulances and police vehicles. These are demons that are engaging in what is not coincidental facilitation. These are demons that are acting in concert to place somebody under surveillance, and they are in servitude to Satan himself. Meaning they have the spirit of Satan on them, and they maintain a demonic environment around the one whom they are targeting, and engineered light is key to that. And this is literally the personification of that demonic presence. So what I wanted to capture was how you're literally witnessing the presence, the engineered light, the multiple videos that I captured where you have over the weekend, the entity had the pattern of the blinds all over the ceiling. You're witnessing what is terrorism and the presence of Satan through that light activity. This is also documentation for what the federal court's going to award me with regard to Todd Speaker. He's going to be prosecuted as a sex offender. His company, the means of facilitating a sex offense by the government while it's occurring in the private space. While it's occurring as I'm talking about engineered light, that's terrorism. That's what I captured on video yesterday. The entity engaging in an act of literally the demonic engineered light to swiping all across, moving all, that's terrorizing somebody. And the prosecution of the people of the state, including Todd Speaker, they're going to pay for that. You drain the pockets of those criminally facilitating the government's ability to even monitor and provide, for example, a business whereby presence is facilitated, a business whereby third-party group stalkers that work for that business are facilitating, a business whereby third-party group stalkers are living on the property facilitating that. And this is speaking to that ongoing presence. And I want to make sure that I speak to, you're witnessing the stalking conduct through the light. Okay. And like I said, everything that I'm saying, the demon possessed, which is a whole lot of people, all the addresses, that's just a sample of those on the hillside. They're not separate from what you're looking at appearing on my ceiling. Okay. Having nothing to do with the blinds, having nothing, the light sources out there. You saw the light activity that's supposedly suggesting the sun, and the entity provides an ongoing wealth of documentation admitting the fact that they're targeting. This is an outright admission. Okay, this is a demon-possessed entity that's stalking in helicopters. They are maintaining constructive presence. They are always stalking and pursuing and remaining where the engineered light is present. And the entity that is stalking in the specific environment has no warrant and has no lawful basis to engage in terrorizing an American citizen. And that's what the LAPD, such as the Ontario Police Department, the Fontana Police Department, are documented engaging in. The Montclair Police Department, while I'm in the city of Montclair, the light source is documented remaining over me as a matter of documentation from 8:30 in the morning till after 6 p.m. Literally, the light source over my head, the light source setting as I remain at Ramona and Holt Boulevard, and the entity was stalking in a helicopter. While I'm inside of that Starbucks at Ramona and Holt, the entity engaging in dynamic engineered light, just like you see inside of my apartment. And while the people of the state are surrounding and the state is maintaining presence, it's the ongoing consistent pattern of conduct. They're engaging in what is criminal presence in an engineered environment, which is supernaturally occurring. And this is evidence of it. This is what I mean by I don't have to tell any tales. I don't have to tell any fables. You're looking at the light activity. It's not me. I don't have any magic wand. I have no control over this. Matter of fact, I will hold up my hand so you can see this is the light activity. It's light that is somehow supernaturally being aimed through. That's an act of the demonic. Okay. And I don't mean that there's some demon outside of the window going abracadabra. Demon possession is an invisible condition. I'm letting you know about the criminal activity that those of this condition in this country are committing, and they include the government. The government is stalking and pursuing somebody while surrounding and maintaining presence in an entirely demonic environment. That lets you know what's wrong with them. They're demons. The federal government shall relieve them of their positions promptly. Okay, and get them the mental examination, the mental attention that they need. They're dangerous psychopaths who are documented, caught in the act, and literally engaging in more corroborating evidence to that end of the fact that you are stalking and pursuing someone in an environment which is conducive to what is criminal monitoring and group stalking. Group stalking is conduct that demons engage in. Demons engage in surrounding someone, targeting someone, and this demonic activity is being committed by government, and you can surround the government with what is the absence of any lawful grounds to do so. That's the prosecution of a government that's engaged in what is surveillance. And that's how you get the P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 7:36 a.m. And what I wanted to show you is how the creeping, and you've seen even more, the entity engaging in this creeping conduct, it is direct evidence of what the world will understand. Terrorism by a demon-possessed entity that's stalking you and terrorizing you. You will be literally compensated, and and the entity will literally serve time in federal prison for what I am documenting, what they are just generously providing, terrorizing an American citizen. They're going to federal prison for this, okay? It's going to be submitted in court against real people who are of this condition, affiliated with these law enforcement agencies, affiliated with these state facilitating agencies, with these courts and these sheriff's departments, who are and the people of the state who are committing what is criminal presence in the path and facilitating. Remember, it's not just in my environment. The demon possessed are maintaining an audible environment. They're maintaining presence, walking around and driving around in the parking lot. Everybody that lives at the crime scene is going to be prosecuted with the evidence of what is surrounding while they are present in that environment. That's what group stalking is, and that's why the environment is here. And you're also maintaining what is that evidence against them. That's why the sun is rising and setting here. Okay, that's why the entity, in other words, is maintaining a light source from morning until evening. And as I speak to it, you're witnessing the demonic. The demonic engages in a real-time reaction. And this is speaking to psychopaths who are hostile because you're exposing their secrets. All right, that does not in any way frighten me, but the ordinary target individual is reasonably terrorized by that. And I have a right, regardless of my ability to advocate, speak to it, and expose it, have a right to not be subject to it. And this is where the entity is stalking me 24 hours a day in a helicopter. Those facts are directly tethered together, and no federal court is going to reasonably disregard that. It is the evidence. I'm going to let you know that they're demons flying helicopters wearing badges. That's exactly what they don't want you to know. But they continue to admit it, by the way, while they are not coincidentally arriving in every video. Okay, doing so with simultaneity to what I'm doing on the phone. They're monitoring on the venue of the internet in violation of Title 18. And an entire entity is a sex offender because in the same way that they're aware of and engaging in acts in real time, that which is of the supernatural, of the demonic, they're also doing this when they know that my panties are down. Okay, they're targeting me when I'm physically indisposed, when I'm engaged in private activity. This is speaking to an exceedingly violent sex offender, okay, a predator. Okay, that's the reality of those. And many of those are they are in custody of children. All right, they are engaging in what is this criminal system in plain sight right now, and doing so in concert with minors. That's the reality of that whole criminal system. So like I said, multiple grounds of removing the children from custody of those that are engaging in federal stalking. And that's the fate of everybody that lives at the crime scene here. All right. There is no natural iteration of the environment where the entity is providing this ongoing admission as to what is plain surrounding with engineered light, and that you're being placed under surveillance. Okay, this is what coexists with criminal presence by the state. And the entity does this, again, on an ongoing basis. So I want you to look again at that video that I captured at 6:38 p.m. And on this wall, where you're looking at the engineered light that was an amber color, while I was, at the same time, I'm talking about the engineered light that was on my kitchen ceiling yesterday, that was on my bedroom ceiling over the weekend, that was on my wall inside of the office. That's speaking to the ongoing maintenance of a demonic environment and the environment where the entity is stalking you in the path. That's what group stalking is, and the engineered light is key to that. The government is engaging in what is keeping you under surveillance, and the government has no lawful basis to do so. There is also no lawful basis to do so in concert with the people. That's why the environment is present, because the government is maintaining vicarious presence 24/7 in that environment at every so-called private. There's no such thing as a private place. They're facilitating venues. There's a specific vocabulary, a specific naming convention when you're going to prosecute the government that's keeping you under surveillance. There is no place of privacy. The facilitating venues include the banks, the grocery store, the mall, the parking lot, sitting out in the field. The entity is surrounding the light source, and the documentation is showing that. The entity is surrounding at all times with the light source and stalking you on an ongoing basis doing so. It is predatory, and it is also a terrorist, and that is the people of the state. It's currently 7:40 a.m., and this is documentation which what I wanted you to witness. The entity rapidly changing from creeping in, but you've already seen it. You've seen the rich light moving across the carpet into the depths, up the wall. You've already seen that. The entity is, as soon as I turn on my camera, this is the demon-possessed entity that is in no way creating anything that's any more realistic. It's not realistic as it appears on the wall, on the ceiling, or on the floor. The light source is rising at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. The light source is here for 11 hours in the day. The light source is doing the exact same thing that you see in the living room, magnification, leaves on the trees blowing in the wind through closed blinds. That's exactly what they're doing on this bedroom wall in the evening, okay? It is indeed the pattern of conduct. This real-time movement of the light source, right? Real-time movement of this light activity and the stagnated stationary presence of the light source. This light activity rapidly moving. Pay attention to that. The sun, that light source isn't going anywhere. This is cycling engineered light, and that's exactly what's going on out here. Cycling around engineered light all over. There's no light activity that's crossing path on Alvarado, a sex offender that's monitoring me inside of a private space. That is the massive sex offender that are the people of the state. Knowing exactly what I'm doing, that simultaneity of crossing path as I go to the window, not a coincidence, especially in the engineered environment. But what I want to be clear of, none of this light activity is naturally occurring. The sun's present for 11 hours in the day. The entity is maintaining a light source rising over me in Ontario, California at a very precise location, literally on the side of the museum where I would lay at night, where, by the way, the entity was stalking day and night at that location where the sun is rising and also where the moon is documented maintaining presence by helicopter. This is the entire pattern of conduct. This is covering engineered light that's all over the grounds because they're maintaining criminal presence and the government has no lawful basis to do so. This is identifying what is group stalking. Group stalking is a government system, a corrupt one. All right. And this is identification of what is the secret society. That's Melania Padilla with a minor child. She's going to federal prison and she's also losing custody of that child. She's monitoring someone in a private space right now. And she is directly engaged in that criminal facilitating conduct while engineered light is moving across on my carpet and on my bedroom wall, which fills my apartment, and while she lives at the crime scene where the sun is rising and setting all day long. And that's exactly how you're going to prosecute the people of the state at Alvarado Gardens who live here. It is 7:42 a.m. This is P.O.C. Let me just go ahead and get the light source in this video as well while we're at it, because that has nothing to do with the light that you saw on my bedroom wall. And remember, the entity is doing an iteration of the same thing. You saw the light moving across my ceiling yesterday and when I came into my apartment, and you saw the engineered light on my bedroom ceiling over the weekend. You saw the engineered light that appeared on the ceiling as I opened the front door. This is iteration of the same conduct. The government's placing under surveillance. Engineered light is significant. Demons cross path in engineered light. So demons surround me, living all around, traveling all around. Remember, walls and whatnot are not an obstruction. They're crossing path on Lobdell, on Effie, on Avalon. They're crossing path. They remain in the path while they live in these houses in relevant position. So while they are aiming engineered light, demons are crossing paths with me as I'm in motion in engineered light. This is the demonic system in operation. In addition, the entities engaging in surveillance in the sky space using commercial airline planes and helicopters. Demons are crossing paths with me in the engineered light. This is occurring in the private space. This is a prosecution of the government, keeping you under surveillance in concert with the people, absent any warrant or probable cause. There is no lawful basis for the government to do this. There's also no lawful basis for the government to do this in concert with the people. And the entity is going to be prosecuted for engaging in what is recognized terrorism in this country, placing an American citizen illegally under surveillance, and also doing so through demonic ritualistic methods. All right, it is currently 7:43 a.m. This is P.O.C. This is where the light source remains. You're going to look at where the light source is at 7:50 in the morning at Euclid Avenue in Ontario, and at no time would it ever be in Los Angeles because the entity maintained the light source over me, which is the wealth of my documentation before I came to Los Angeles, because the entity's been engaged in surveillance, maintaining a specific environment which is entirely unnatural, a scientific impossibility, that which NASA can never explain in a federal court. No expert can get on the stand and explain what this is. This is a system of a corrupt government, and it is the direct prosecution and exposure of that. And while the entity provides evidence such as appearing on the carpet and appearing on the wall above, it's an ongoing admission by that entity. It's going to be used against Todd Speaker. It's going to be used against the people of the state. You don't have any lawful defense for facilitating a government who's facilitating a government's criminal system that is a threat to the life and the physical safety and overall well-being of a target individual. You do not have a constitutional defense. And by the way, they are caught red-handed engaging in what is a malicious system. They had no intention of it ever being exposed. There was no intention for it ever to be exposed, especially the fact that there are a bunch of demons targeting an innocent American citizen. It is currently 7:45 a.m. and this is POC. Everybody at Alvarado Gardens is going to federal prison. POC.